Alright, feeling too lazy to put on a shirt today, so gonna play without a camera this time. Gonna try to play logical chess, not spend too much time, but spend a little time in the middle of the game figuring out plans, or how I want to continue. I was playing a stronger player in Blitz recently, and I noticed they'd often take some time a bit earlier than I would in a game, thinking about how to complete development, where I'd often finish development and then think, and they'd think kind of a couple moves before, and often by the time I'd finished development, they were starting on a much clearer plan than I was engaged in. And I'd find myself getting in trouble, making kind of automatic moves, the kind of rook 81 or rook he1s of the world, and getting in trouble. So, gonna try to stop and think a little earlier than I normally might. Alright, so here I could play bishop e7, but I've blocked up the center. I don't think I need to get castled immediately, and sometimes putting the bishop there creates a target for knight d5, or when my knight moves there's a bishop takes e7. So I think I want to get started on the queen side. I think I'm happy with the current state of the king side and center. And now maybe bishop b7 and rook c8 next, with kind of typical Najdorf play. I don't know if I want to insert h6. I think h6, bishop h4, ef4 looks pretty good for me, because if queen f4 I have g5. Alright, well now it is not a question. I will take back pawn. If knight d5, queen d5, I have bishop b7, so I'm not too concerned about that. If bishop f6, I take back knight. That was the whole point of my opening. I think I've talked about it before. But knight d7 to reinforce f6, followed by the queen moving off the g5 to d8 diagonal, allows me to keep control of d5, which white's bishop g5 is designed to limit my control of. Alright. I'm going to take. If pawn takes, I will play bishop d6 and stop the pawn from advancing. Yeah. Now I'm considering bishop f5 or bishop g4, bishop b7. I'm not sure where it belongs with rook c8. I do think I need to get castled soon, so maybe I should start with that. If I play bishop f5, maybe they play bishop d3. If they play bishop d3, maybe I'll want to have gone bishop g4. So I think I'll let them commit with their light-squared bishop before I do. Alright, they're not committing with it. That's interesting. I could play something like f5, gaining a little space. I don't have a5 yet because of bishop b5. Are they trying to play c4? They might be. Huh. I'd like to play bishop f5. Is bishop d3 a problem? Maybe then I play e4. I like that because then I have bishop f4 after. Because their rook on c1 is a little awkward. So bishop f5 prevents c4, which they may have been considering, I'm not sure. And I don't think in this moment they have bishop d3. Yeah. Now, rook c8 seems very reasonable to me. If they play c4, I think I'm happy to trade, and then their d-pawn is isolated. Also, their king will have very few squares. My bishop does a nice job looking towards their king. So I'm going to take that and maybe queen b6. Keep a6 defended. Maybe queen b7. No, that might allow knight a5 to c6. This doesn't necessarily prevent it, but for instance, rook c8, knight a5, I'd have queen takes a5. When queen takes a5, rook c1 is checkmate. I'm worse at highlighting squares on chess.com than on Lichess, so I'm not going to try, because I might misclick and do something disastrous. Alright. My instinct is, if I take that, my two bishops are pretty good, but I do not see an obvious follow-up move. I'm also tempted to play something like queen f2. Their bishop has no squares, and I sometimes threaten back rank infiltration. They can't take on a6 because of queen e1. So I think I'll start with queen f2. Maybe they take on c8, rook takes c8, bishop takes a6. Is that a problem? I might have rook c2 there. They can come to the back. I think that's okay. Maybe I should come to e3. That keeps an eye on more squares in their camp. So So it's a little harder for them to unravel. For instance, rook takes, rook takes, and I threaten rook c1. All right, I'm down to 22 seconds. I keep talking when I'm playing 3-minute and just not realizing what the clock situation is. I threaten rook c1. They get out of it. Maybe rook a8, maybe rook c2. Let's try rook c2. Gotta play quick now. If queen d8, I play bishop f8. I'm almost certainly going to lose this game given the clock situation, but their king is a bit loose. And I do think I have played a reasonable game to this point. Just got to go fast now. All right, going to hit b2. That hangs to my rook, but yeah. Now they have queen f8, which is a nice finish for them. Yep, nice. All right. So got in time trouble and then had to make instant moves and lost. But I think if we go back, I liked my bishop f5, maybe rook c8, maybe there was something more precise. Maybe b4 is interesting. b4 with the idea that it prepares a5, a4, and might prevent c3 a bit, or c4. Maybe they play c3 there. Maybe b4, c3. I don't have a5 because they'll open up on my queen. Maybe queen e7. I think a typical idea for white is knight a5 going for c6 and preventing my expansion. Though here I can take on c3. If they go knight c6, I take their queen. If they play rook takes or queen takes c3, I have bishop b4. So they might have to take pawn. And then with their king structure broken up like this, I'm very tempted to believe I have a nice position. But I took too long. Maybe b4 was a good move. I didn't consider it in the game. I think out of the opening, I would be, if we go to analysis, I would be surprised if I'm not better there. Yeah, it's giving minus 1.3, king b1, castles. It's giving minus 1.6, rook c1, bishop f5. Ooh, maybe there was better here. It was a little more excited before I played bishop f5. Maybe I can play e4 immediately and threaten bishop f4. I'm not sure that's useful, though. Okay, bishop f5, king a1, and rook c8 decreases my advantage a lot. So what if I had played b4? No, it's not super excited. e4, threatening bishop f4? No, so the moves that struck me as candidates are not the ones it wanted. What if I go aggressive? Yes, it's liking this more. I think with the point that bishop takes b5, a4, and the knight actually has no squares. I did not see that possibility. So I had dismissed a5 for hanging the pawn, but actually just storming forward was the way to go, specifically with their knight misplaced. Interesting. All right, 0 for 1. Najdorfs are fascinating, though. Every time I play the Najdorf, it's maybe not the opening for me in 3-minute, because I just end up playing slowly, but every game is just interesting. So let's play another. I should really take up the Najdorf. All right, I have no idea what to do against bishop c4. I've never prepared this. I think there's supposed to be a way of playing with e6, knight d7, and knight c5 to really keep control of the e6 square. So they can... Ooh. Alright, maybe I'm supposed to play knight d7 first to avoid these sacrifices, because this is going to be very scary to try to hold. I feel like I have to take that. Alright, knight f6. Try to play bishop e6. I don't know. I'm threatening queen d5 as well. If rook e1, maybe I play king f7 and try to hide on g8. Alright, so I'm not threatening queen takes d5 because of knight c7. Therefore, I have to retreat while keeping c7 under control. And then they play bishop e3. And can I just resign there? That looks horrendous. Huh. Yeah, this looks busted. Not really seeing a way to continue the game. I'd love to insert bishop e6 at some point. I guess gotta let them take the exchange, or the rook. It's gonna be a full rook, probably. Maybe don't take that pawn. I would like to keep b6 under control so the knight can't get out, though how will I even attack the knight once it's on a8 and they have bishop e3 so quick? I think I can just resign this. 0 for 2. I should really look at what I'm doing against bishop c4 because that's a very common move. So if we go to this position, all right, it loves black, but knight bd7, bishop e6, and it's getting excited about white. Yeah. All right, so I can't allow this. So e6 does not combine with knight bd7. So what if I played knight bd7 immediately? Say they castle, like in the game, and then I play knight c5. Then I play f4. I go e6. There's no sack. This is probably the move order I'm supposed to do it. All right. Betraying my complete lack of knowledge of various Najdorf lines. And we are 0 for 2. Can I go for an open Sicilian? Maybe they're a Najdorf player. That would be interesting. Yeah, let's play bishop e3. This is a rematch, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. All right, so queen c7 stops bishop c4. I like to play queen d3 and c4. I think I'm supposed to play a4 first. I had a video before where I went for queen d3, c4 immediately, and I thought they had b5. So now I think they go b6, and then I can go queen d3 and queen c4. And I think b6, queen d3, bishop b7, queen c4, queen takes c4, bishop takes c4. They cannot take on e4 with knight e4, bishop e4, or they probably shouldn't because I have bishop f7 at the end, king f7, knight g5, check, forking. So they go for control of c4. This makes sense, but I think I can harass their bishop. I could also consider knight d5, but maybe queen a5 is just unpleasant for me. So I'm going to harass their bishop, try to trade it off. Try to just say I have the two bishops. The doubled f-pawns aren't so bad. Most Najdorf players are aware they can allow these, and, the e6 pawn controls a lot of useful squares. The e6 pawn's very good in the Najdorf. Black's question in the Najdorf is, do I want the e6 or e5 pawn in a lot of lines? And here, black gets both. But they do give up the two bishops to get it. So I feel it's not, I'm not making a concession, I don't think, when I take on e6. But it is worth noting, black has a lot of compensation for it and will often push a quick d5. Right. I hope they're thinking about retreating, though, because if they retreat, then I'm in very good shape. Though even then, if they play like bishop d7 and I go queen d3, idea queen c4, they have time for h6, knight f3, bishop e6. You get the same position, but I've gotten in queen d3 for free, I guess, or in exchange for h6. I don't really know who that favors. So maybe if they just retreat the bishop, I should not go for the queen d3 and queen trade idea. Maybe I should think about knight d5 there, because they have fewer pieces defending d5, and if knight takes, queen takes, I f7, so they can't take on c2. I don't know. They're pulling a me here and taking a lot of time to think just in the middle. Maybe they're also just talking and getting caught up in it. Alright, nope, they abandoned the game. Alright, well, I'll pretend I'm 1 for 3, but I am not. Alright, caro-kann. I'm going to try to play the advance. Looking to play g4. First I control e4 so that on g4 they don't have bishop e4. And then we play g4. g4 immediately has been played by Mark Asserman. So if I play h4, they have h5. So knight e2 is played first to go to f4. Now we try to trap their bishop. And can play knight f4, poking at the bishop. And we get a pawn here, but black has a surprising amount of compensation, I think, for a position that, to my eyes, looks a little shaky. For instance, here they can already recapture on c2 if they want. I'm not sure they should. I think the c-file is good for me. I'd like to keep my queen centralized if possible. If knight e7, maybe I play bishop g5 and pin the knight. Their bishop has trouble coming out because g7 is loose. Maybe I'll castle queenside if I'm given another turn. Alright, they broke the pin. This is reasonable. I'm really tempted to take on e7. If they take back bishop, I can take g7, and that feels good to me. Though then they move the king and my queen suddenly hit. So I'd have to play bishop c6 there. I think I can do that. I'd be up a second pawn. So I'm going to take... If they take back queen... Alright, so I guess probably take on c6 first. Just keep everything simple. Take on g7. Their bishops are good and their center is good because they can roll forward. So I'm probably going to castle kingside now. That seems appropriate to me. I'd like to play knight f6, I think. Yeah. Obviously can't take back pawn because I'd lose my queen. Now thinking about pushing h5. Okay. Taking on d5 doesn't seem to do anything. Probably going to play h5, think about h6, h7, but also if I castle, I don't want to be hanging h4. And I don't see knight takes d5 as working. I would like to get castled. I would feel a lot more comfortable here if I was castled. I'm technically up a pawn, and my pawns are good. Do I want to play a move like b3? Now, if I castle and they take on b2, I have queen c1, but they can just defend their rook, and I think they keep everything. Now, they probably have to defend from b7, because if they defend from another square, I might have knight d7 there. That's interesting. But I really don't want to be retreating my queen. It's the only thing holding together my center. So I think I should play b3, queen a4, though. Knight d7. King moves, knight takes b8, queen takes c3, check. Ooh, don't like it. I think I'll just feel better if I've castled. I'm gonna castle. They can take on b2, they get their pawn back. I'm thinking maybe I'll play a4 so my knight has an outpost on b5 in response. But I really didn't like the look of b3, queen a5, even if I can grab the rook on b8. Once they take on c3, either my king has to come to e2, they have checks on d3 because their bishop's good there, or if I go to f1, they can take on a1. Maybe then I get to g2 and my king survives, but I've lost far too much material. Okay, I guess bring the knight forward. I don't see much alternative here. I think I'm going to take back knight. Think about knight d6 sometimes. If they take on b2, I'll probably play rook b1. Their king is still awkward, and if I can take over the b file, that seems useful to me. Because I think they're going to have trouble defending some resulting positions. Maybe not this one, though. Okay, I'm going to take. Now, knight g5 and knight d6 threaten mate, which does so in a way that forces them to make a bigger concession. Knight g5, bishop takes, queen d5. Alright, I'm low on time again. Far too slow. Let's try knight d6, but I have no idea if it's the correct choice. Sort of thinking about queen f6 to follow. Threatening mate, they can play rook h7 as well. Let's hit the rook. I guess it's not a draw. They go to h7, I guess I'll go to f6. They can take on g4 and then I'm mated. Yeah. Oh, another one where I lose on the board, but I feel I'd have much more time to think if I hadn't spent so much time in earlier positions. Don't even know where I did spend the time. I guess I spent forever on castles here. Yeah, 47 seconds is just ridiculous in a 3-minute game. I'd be curious what the computer evaluation is here, because I think I should be better after bishop e7, bishop takes. And I'm not. Interesting. Black is compensation. Huh. So I'm better once we get here, though h5 was wrong. But interesting. Okay. 1 for 4. And I didn't even win the win legit. So, yeah. Bit of a terrible showing so far. I think mostly just far too slow. I really need to prepare against these e6 Sicilians at some point. Everyone plays them. Okay, now we've transposed into a Scheveningen, so I'm going to go for the Kyr's attack. Or Kyres. Rook g1 and h4. I think I read somewhere that the move order of these two moves is important, but I didn't understand why. Looking to play g6 at some point. I guess chase the knight. They can always stick in, taking on d4. Okay, I guess I have to take the knight now. If queen d4, knight d4, bishop d1. Alright, they didn't want that. So I can win a pawn with knight c6. I guess I should. Now my bishop's tied to b2, which is a bit annoying, and my queen's tied to h4. So queen g3 looks like the only move here. Black has gotten kind of everything they'd want except they're down a pawn, right? They have the 2 bishops. They have the recapture on c6 with the pawn, better controlling the center. Maybe I'll play b3 to prepare bishop e3. Because they don't have d5 because e5 hangs, so they can't really bring the bishop to b4, and if just the queen's pinning, I'm not so worried about that on the knight. I can just play bishop d2, and I'll probably win the tempo back. So this might be a way to free my bishop. It's possible it should come to b2, because I'm probably castling queenside here, and I'm going to need more pieces around the king to defend it, rather than to a square like e3. Alright. So if I play knight a4, they have queen b4, and I can't block the check and save the e4 pawn unless I come back with the knight. Okay, and if I play bishop b2, they have a4, and I don't have knight a4 because of rook a4, and they exploit a different pin. So I think I'm going to play... Ooh, I don't want to hang h4, but I do want to hang h4. Bishop d2 looks solidest. But I don't like it. I really like to get rid of the pressure they have. I don't think they should play a4 yet, though. Should probably play something like bishop e6 or bishop a6. Maybe if I had free turn, I should just play like rook h1, just so my queen is freed up. I'm not sure, though. I think black certainly has compensation for the pawn here. I'm just hoping they, like, blunder something with d5 or... yeah, something like that. I don't like my position here. Yeah, that seems very reasonable. I think I am just going to play rook h1. I'd like to play queen e3. Okay. I don't really see what that does. They're not threatening to take on g5 after queen trades because my bishop defends it. If we castle queenside, we remove any pin on the h-pawn. Okay, they bring the bishop out this way so that a4 can be supported by the bishop. That makes sense. Play a3 to meet a4 with b4, but then they have c5. I don't love it, but then I have knight d5. So okay, let's try a3. Ooh, this gives them d5 immediately, though, maybe. Yeah, this was probably silly. Okay. d5, I thought I could maybe meet with ed5 and queen e5. Okay. They're proceeding sensibly, and I am making potentially weakening moves. But at least I'm making them somewhat quickly, which is an improvement on prior games. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess I gotta take it. Tending queen e5 next. Alright, let's grab stuff. Better to have taken something than nothing at all. Thinking about maybe knight f6. d3, I have c4. Right. I'm gonna... I wish knight f6 forced them to take with the bishop, but they can kind of just leave it alone, and I'm not sure what I'm doing. Maybe bishop b4. If bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes, queen c5 check, they have to play queen e7 and I get queens off. Then I can play on knight f6 at some point. That's my idea. It's not much, but it's an idea. They can also play bishop takes, a takes, rook a8. That looks fairly scary. But I don't think I'm mated yet, and we've evened up the clock. Alright, so I'm going to play queen c5 check, take on e7, knight f6, maybe h5. Oh. Alright, this is bad. Okay. Maybe throw in a check, and then I guess I'll take. Alright, the knight seems good on f6. Stop their king taking the pawn. Maybe knight h5 next. Try to take on d4. Alright, got him on the clock. That was kind of suspicious. Alright, let's play one more. Beaten FM though, from a difficult position. Admittedly, didn't beat them on the board, but wasn't lost by the end. Was actually better. Alright, another Najdorf. This is my Najdorf video. Okay, I like knight d7. This is one of the lines I know. Queen a5. I hit the bishop. I break potential pins, and now e5 trying to block up the center. Knight a5 is definitely possible. Now, they don't have pressure. Ooh, I think I can play knight e4. My point is, their knight's pinned. If queen e4, knight c5 hits away the defender of f5. I think they have to play b4 there, and we get a very complicated position. Because if their queen just moves away, I have bishop f5. So I think they have to find queen b4 here, or the game's over. I mean, we've seen my technique. The game is never over. But b4, queen a3, hits the knight on c3, threatens to take a1 after. Okay. Maybe I can insert bishop e6 before taking. Then they, yeah. Bishop e6. Let's try it. This might be fancy play syndrome. But they were threatening b4 if I took an f5 anyway, and the queen now defends the knight on c3, so I didn't have the counter shot queen a3. Very complicated position, I think. I remember looking at this possibly in a book, possibly on my own, and I think I have to play queen a3. And it was just very clear that, you know, white has this only move path. And maybe queen c4 was okay. Maybe queen c4 and then b4 was fine for them. So I can take on f5. I could play b5. I don't really want to allow knight c7. Huh. What about rook c8? Pawn takes c5, rook takes c5. Where does the queen go? I don't think they can defend both d5 and f5, but they have knight c7 there, maybe? Okay. Huh. Is b5 useful? Knight c7, king d7. The queen still has to move. I'm going to try it, though I think I might be going astray. Alright, they desperado the queen. Ah, because they have checkmate. Ah, that's genius. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, knight c7 is checkmate. Yeah, nicely played. Okay. Totally missed this. Ah, very interesting. All these Najdorfs are so interesting. Sure, I'm blundering a lot, but like, okay. So knight takes e4. Maybe not best here, though I really don't trust the Lichess engine at chess.com. So let's head over to Lichess and try it there. So let's turn on Stockfish. Let's flip the board. E4, C5, knight f3, d6, d4, takes, knight f6, knight c3, a6, bishop g5, knight bd7. They went queen e2, queen a5, f4, e5, knight f5. And I went for knight takes e4. Apparently I have d5 here. Sometimes I get confused and play knight takes e4 when I have d5. That's interesting. Okay, so how does d5 work? My idea is to take on e4. So if they play, some waiting move, I take on e4. If they castle queens, I have d4. So takes. Say they take here. I can take here. How does this work? King d8. Bishop a3 is a nice move. Okay, I can see that working. So I should have played d5, but I had known about this knight takes e4 trick. Queen takes e4, knight c5. So maybe they did find the best move with queen c4. So b4 here doesn't work due to... oh, I take on e4 and then I take on c3, of course. Alright, so my analysis was just blatantly ridiculous. So they have to get their queen out of the way. I played bishop e6, b4, queen a3, knight d5. And here, I couldn't find the path. And okay, white is better here. But I guess I have to take on d5. The mating ideas are too scary. And then take on b4. Alright, and I have many pawns for the piece. I do think I've looked at this position. I didn't remember it. Really interesting lines, though. I hope this was interesting to other people. So I have a nice position after knight f5 if I play d5. The knight takes e4 trick gives white a better position, but not crushing, in this very complicated line. After queen c4, bishop e6, b4, queen a3, knight d5, takes, queen b4, and then f6 so that I can take on f4. And, you have a complicated game. I assume my threat is... so my threat's queen takes f5. Also, g6 might be coming, because the bishop has only one defender. Bishop d3, knight d3, queen d3 to defend f5. Yes, d5. Definitely seen this at some point. If I played something like g6, they can take on f6, so they don't lose the bishop. But d5 is the point that queen takes is met by rook d8. Man, these lines are tricky. Okay. Again, my studying of the Najdorf has been very sporadic at best, but I think every game in it's just so interesting. And I may lose all of them, but at least they're nice games to check out after. All right,